find that we grossly underestimate people of color, grossly. And people can do that because they're in groups. They have the safety of the groups. So usually a person of color is just one. They're not many, just that one voice. And people of non-color, they don't realize they do this, but they ignore that person's voice, that person of color's voice in a group setting. And they're patting each other on the back of their brilliance and their ideas, and we're going to do this, we're going to do that, without really the consideration of the contribution of that person of color. It doesn't even cross some people's mind the value that that person of color has and what they're missing. But what happens is, if the person of color has the right mindset as they move through their experience, it's about growth. It's about development. It's about somehow transitioning yourself so you have true competence and confidence. Because when you have experience, or when you go through things like that, there's true competence and competency. But in the beginning, though, that person of color is going to feel the pain of rejection. But in the long run, as they go through their life, they're going to find out how they've grown so much. And it may not necessarily look in terms of how, society sees the growth or development. It may just be a feeling inside, but that feeling inside is going to be a real confidence, a real competency, a real self-love if they have the right approach to it, a right thought process to it. But you'll find that people of non-color, they miss like this opportunity, because developing relationships with people who have different perspectives is a real great experience, and they're missing on this great experience. They're missing on this learning. But what happens to some people of non-color when they stereotype, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, a person of color, where they're not listening to the voice that person of color has, they're not valuing that person, unknowingly or knowingly, not valuing that contribution. Later on, they're setting themselves up for pain. They're setting themselves up for a lot of pain, because the day will come. See, when you have people that get together because they have the numbers, and they're superficially patting themselves on the back, and they have this superficial confidence and competency because they have these numbers and they're patting themselves on the back. One day they're going to meet somebody who has real confidence and competency because they have experience, and they're going to have real self-love because they've overcome so much that they've learned to rely on themselves. And when they meet that person, which usually is a person of color, they're going to be set back by that person. They're going to be disturbed by that person because they had this idea in their head of what this person should be like as far as competency, confidence, and self-love. And when they meet this person who goes against what their thought process was, then what they're going to do is they're going to doubt themselves. And there's a long history of experiences they've had where they've ignored people of color, have this concept of people of color, and then when they come across this situation, they're going to doubt themselves, because this image of this person in front of them, this brown person in front of them, is going to go against everything they believe, which will cause them tremendous pain, particularly if this person is competent, particularly if this person has success, whatever that success is that they believe, particularly if this person's eye to eye with you and they have competence and confidence that matches yours that you thought you had. It's going to create a self doubt, which is pain. It's lots of pain. Like the person of color has pain in the short run, in the beginning, as they experience these things. But as they move through life, they adjust if they have the right mindset. But the non-color people, they'll experience that pain later on if they did not take the time to really understand people of color, really appreciate people of color. And what'll happen is it'll cause them to overreact in situations. And this overreact in situations against brown people is nothing new to brown people, which is they will not include them, they won't talk to them, they'll try to alienate them in situations, they'll try to degrade them in situations. And people of color are prepared for that. But the last thing I want to say, it's almost like a test. It's almost like life is testing us. I don't think life cheats any of us, really. I mean, some people want to judge, I have more financing than you, or I have more, accolades than you do, so life has blessed me. But that's not really how life blesses us. Life blesses us through how we feel about ourselves. Life blesses us through learning. Life blesses us through experiences. Life blesses us through loving one another, and self-love. I mean, you can do accolades like financial accolades. You can say I'm blessed. That's good too, because you want to be able to support yourself. But those aren't the only way. There's other ways that are just as important or more important if you're willing to look at it that way. So with brown people, the challenge is, how do I do my life? As I move through my life, how do I grow, develop myself, appreciate myself, just somehow grow, maybe even grow towards humanity? People of color. And then people of non-color who don't have, in this country, who don't have the motivation of pain and rejection, how do they also grow and move towards not only love of self, but love of others and their differences, and move towards humanity, just like the brown people move towards humanity? Both a challenge, because brown people have to move through pain, hate, maybe rejection, whatever that is, and they have to get past those emotions and move towards that love of self, love of others, and humanity that I'm explaining. But people of non-color, their challenge is not the same challenge as brown people, but they have a privilege. And how do I, with the privilege that I have, still touch base with this humanity, self-love, love of others, humanity, sometimes hatred? How do I move towards that, towards all people with what I have? So the challenges are similar, but they look different. We all have this goal, which is to move what I just mentioned: love, self-love, humanity. How do we both do that? And one of the ways to do that is we accept one another. We appreciate one another. We have genuine appreciation for each other, genuine forgiveness for each other, and forgiveness for ourselves for the mistakes that we've made with other people.